Hi, this is Brennan Elliott, star of Curse of Chucky. I'm here with Sean Evans at Back to the Movies.
We are joined today by Brennan Elliott, who plays Ian in Curse of Chucky. How are you today, Brennan?
I'm great, Sean. Thank you.
Fantastic. So Chucky is back once again in fine form. Firstly, were you a big fan of the previous Chucky films, and when did you get the news that you would be starring in the latest installment?
Well, I mean, like anybody, I grew up watching all the Curse of Chucky movies, and obviously, predominantly the one that really scared me when I was younger was the first one. I just remember being very, very affected by it. I remember, I think one of my buddies, JS, and I, we were downstairs in his basement kind of having this studying sleepover type stuff and kind of working on our classwork. And it was a Friday night, and we'd had enough, and I think we ordered a pizza, and we watched this movie. And it was back in the day when, you know, when there was nothing about scary dolls in regards to Chucky. It hadn't come out yet. It just came out on video, and we hadn't gotten to the theater to see it, but it was kind of the rage. And it freaked me out. And I think there's something really scary about dolls in general. And I think we just kind of transfer, we transfer energy into, they look like us, they kind of behave like us, but they're not us. So it's kind of this really weird dynamic. And I found it horrifying, especially the relationship with Andy, that Andy's character was so innocent and sweet in the beginning. So it kind of moved me. And I was very, very freaked out about it. Oh, of course, I've seen all the other ones, and it got into the glib humor for a while. And they're all very different in their scope, each movie, as is Curse of Chucky. And in regards to getting the job, an agent called me up, and it was an audition, and said, would I be interested in going in on it? And I said, oh, I'm a big fan of the franchise, of course. And it had been a while since they'd done one, so I wasn't sure, how long it had been and what the whole, who was behind it. So I just kind of went in like any other actor. You kind of go in, you meet the director, you do a read, and then we had a chemistry read with me and a couple of the women, and one of those women was Danielle Basutti, who plays my wife Barb, and the rest is history, shall we say.
Fantastic. Now, with you saying there you're a big fan of the series, I mean, it's got to be a dream come true for you to go from being a fan to actually starring in one of the series. I mean, how does that feel? I mean, even now, after you've filmed it, it must be definitely, like I just said, a dream come true.
Well, it's getting me a lot more street cred with my friends.
Yeah, I can imagine so, yeah.
I mean, I've done a lot of work, and I mean, a lot of work that I'm, obviously very proud of, but I think this is something that people actually remember more because it's just such a global icon in the horror genre. And I think that when someone says, oh, you did that, cool, but you did Curse of Chucky, you were in a Curse of Chucky film, Chucky killed you, like it's apparently my claim to fame at this point in my career, which I'm not, it's not a bad thing. Okay, I'll tell you, it's not a bad thing at all.
Exactly, isn't a bad thing. Well, I do actually remember you being in, was it United 93? Was it
actually, I was in the TV version for A&E. I was in Flight 93.
That's the one, yeah. I knew something like that rang a bell, yeah. We haven't got many shows like that over here in the UK, but I did recognise your face as soon as I saw you there, definitely.
Thank you.
Now, this film, I mean, it shies away from the comedic elements that Bride and Seed had, as we just discussed. It returns back to the dark, scary roots of the Chucky franchise. Do you feel as though this film has reinvented the scare factor that Chucky once had all those years ago?
Well, I think so. I mean, I think a lot of the fans, and I mean, I've never realized, I mean, I'm a fan, you're a fan, but there are serious Chucky fans. I mean, these people live and breathe. That's their horror icon. It's not Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street or, Paranormal Activity. I mean, this is their thing. And I think that Don really was plugged into a lot of what these fans wanted, and they wanted to get back to the horror roots, so to speak. So I don't look at it as a sequel, as a kind of new shot in the arm of what it really was in the beginning. I mean, this was a movie that was horrifically scary and had a lot of, sinister scenes that there's just a lot of sinister goings on, and there was like there's some jokes and some lines here and there that he still has fun with it, but it's still serious business, and it got away from that for a while. And I think this is just to kind of reiterate what the fans not only wanted, and to show the people that haven't seen it, this is really what Chucky's about. Is kicking ass and taking names, really, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, for fans, I mean, what they had, I mean, even for people who've never seen the series before, they can open up Child's Play 1, 2, and 3 and be like, wow, this is real horror. This doll scares the crap out of me. But if people want to be introduced into, say, if they're too scared to watch horror, things like that, the more comedic elements of Bride and Seed are probably the perfect way to start. I mean,
exactly.
It's Chucky making jokes. It's Chucky jerking off in a bathroom, for Christ's sake. I mean, it's the doll doing crazy
stuff.
Having,
and the two dolls have a baby. I mean, let's get serious here. But yeah. And those films in their own just by themselves are great for what they are. You know, they're really fantastic works of black satire and comedy and over the top silliness with certain things. And I think that was what, you know, that was a direction Don wanted to explore, and I think he explored it magically. And I think this was something he really wanted to go back to, a gothic Argento kind of feel, you know, and I think he got that in spades, and the response has been unbelievable, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, with you saying a gothic feel, I mean, the house itself, it really gives that impression of the whole entire film. I mean, the characters themselves, they've all seemed to have got very sort of more depressing backstories. Yeah. Obviously, Fiona Dourif's character's just lost a mom. I mean, you're going through a troubled relationship with Bob at the moment and things like that. So the house really brings this character into itself. So the house is pretty much, for me, like a separate character, as it's bringing that darkness, that depression, right to the film's sort of atmosphere there.
Couldn't agree more, Sean. I think you got, you know, obviously Chucky is the character of the piece, but I think the house is the ominous presence that it's the 800-pound elephant in the room. And I remember just getting on set. There's not a lot of acting that needs to get done when you walked in on that set and that house felt like that. I mean, it was very spooky. Every day felt uncomfortable. I remember we were shooting, and I remember we had a little get together at Don's house. There was a bunch of us talking about the script, and he wanted to have the cast together because it was a very grueling shoot emotionally for all of us. And I remember just sitting there saying, you know, this is a very uncomfortable movie. And that's kind of how you felt as an actor, not only with Chucky, but just all of the relationship turmoil that's going on and people dealing with their own past history, and all of us in one room that are living in a world that's not always that positive. And then, of course, you've got Chucky, and then you got this house. And so it was just a very uncomfortable experience in a good way, because it bred some really nice work, but it was difficult. There's no question.
Yeah, I can definitely imagine that enhancing your acting capabilities if you're in an environment where you're already feeling uncomfortable and you need to portray this sort of uncomfortable atmosphere, especially with the fact that Chucky, being the antagonist, is actually a doll at the end of the day, and from an acting point of view, it's much harder to act with a doll rather than a human being. Which brings me to my next question. I mean, for you as an actor, how was it like to interact with an object rather than a living human being, or do the same rules apply when you were doing that sort of thing?
Well, it's different. You know, when you still, as an actor, are working with choices sensorially. So if I'm talking to Nika in a scene, I'm obviously maybe talking to someone else that I'm working with my imagination and my senses and trying to create somebody else. You're still also reacting to someone who's human, who's dealing with emotions and dealing with thoughts and feelings. So there's a real great playback with a human person. With a doll, there's nothing there. There's some animatronics. There's some guys moving their mouth. I mean, it's very, very difficult. But so yeah, it is very different. It is a lot more difficult. You're still, when you're looking at the doll, you're obviously working for whatever choice is eliciting your fear, but you're not getting a lot off that doll in regards to emotion, because it's not. It's plastic. It's not real. But the animatronics and the guys that really were working it did such a magical and brilliant job to get a tweak from his face, or to get a smile, or to get a and if you just reacted in the moment to that, it was enough to scare you. So it was difficult, and it's a chore and a task. But you know, they were so brilliant, the guys that work with the doll, that you know, you just kind of include what's happening in the moment, and it does become scary.
Wow, it's definitely a good insight into what it's like on set. I mean, going back to the main cast as a whole, I mean, we've got Fiona Dourif, who stars in the movie, alongside her real-life father, Brad Dourif. Now, usually working on set is like working with a family, but in this instance, it was working with family for them. Was there a lot of family stories going around, maybe family pranks around set, or did everyone play it cool and professional throughout the shooting of the movie?
Well, I mean, I don't think. I mean, it was. There was one time we did the read through where Brad was there, and then he was there for a couple of days shooting, but predominantly he wasn't there.
Okay.
It was just Fiona. But I mean, she had a lot of stories to say. I mean, it was a little. I mean, to us acting, it just was like, okay, we're so into the script and into the movie that we really didn't think about it. Brad was Chucky. You know what I mean? Like we kind of didn't. I mean, we knew it when we went in. It's like this is kind of odd. It's like a family affair, but it's a very very destructed. This family isn't getting along. Speaking of my family, so there wasn't any jokes really going on. It was pretty. It was pretty serious business when we were filming. I mean, we all had fun doing it, but I think every actor that was involved really wanted to portray their characters honestly and make them feel believable and three-dimensional, and they really wanted to create some really nice work. I mean, a lot of horror films, and you know this probably better than me, but there's a lot of horror films where there's great horror and there's great effects, but sometimes the acting's a little less to be desired. And I think that Don really was insistent that this is a story about relationships, about family, about past, about history, and you need good actors to develop that and bring it to the forefront, which makes Chucky even scarier. So we just took that very seriously.
Yeah, I mean, it does definitely. I mean, with you saying that, obviously, with the horror films that I've interviewed for and worked on personally, I mean, in some instances, yes, the acting does let it down, and it comes across how well the film was portrayed. I mean, Curse of Chucky, it really had me to a point where I was thinking, wow, I've watched enough horror films to know that I'm not scared by this, but I'm definitely uncomfortable by the thought of this.
Yeah.
So it's nice to know that the real-life drama is kept outside the house, and as soon as you entered the house, it was back to business.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, absolutely. And you know what's funny? And I've talked to a couple of. There's been a number of fans that have emailed me or what have you, and have wanted to talk. And I always tell them, even when I was in Winnipeg, we had tons of fans that would be outside the hotel. I said, this isn't going to have the slasher. I mean, there is elements of it, obviously, but this is like, and you just said it, Sean. It's an uncomfortable movie to watch, and and I think in the beginning, where there is a real slow. It's like watching The Shining. There's moments of where Kubrick would have a camera on something and it would just sit there, and you know something's coming, and it's very uncomfortable, as opposed to some movies where it's just action and someone's head gets cut off. This kind of is a little more of a moody, dark, gothic, mind fuck, really, and I think that is another type of horror that Don was exploring.
I think it's definitely a type of horror that we'll see more of in the future. I mean, what we're used to today as a society is more gore in horror. I mean, the Saw films, no matter how good they were and how thought-provoking they were as a series, I mean, it's gore at the end of the day. We've got Final Destination, which is more gore and things like that. People are used to these types of scares. You put a film audience in front of a cinema and the scenario and the scenery is uncomfortable, the setting's uncomfortable, it's building tension. Obviously, that's a different type of scare than what people are used to, so it'll get a bigger impact. As a result.
Absolutely. And those other films are great in the genre that they're in. This is just a different, like if you're going in to see Chucky just go rampage, kill people every 30 seconds on film, you'd be disappointed because you're not open to the fear factor that's there when he's not in the room, which is even scarier in my opinion at times.
Yeah, totally agree with you. Now, in the film, there is a certain event that leads to Ian's death. Now, we won't spoil it for the listeners, but this certain event is a gory demise indeed. Yes. I read that you have your face casted in order to create the effect. Now, what must that have been like? I mean, I've heard that it's a rather long and painstaking experience because...
It is. It took hours. It took hours and hours and hours to get it done. And I can be... I mean, I didn't realize this because I never had a cast made of my face, but, they put the cast on you, the plaster, and I had to have a certain, I don't want to spoil it, but I had to have a certain expression that was very, very stressful on my face. And you have to have that for like almost an hour while they're putting the stuff on, and then it's got to harden. And then I just remember getting claustrophobic because when this thing is hardening on you, you feel like you're 6 feet under in a box. I mean, it's on you and you can't breathe. And then they have holes where you get some air and you can't hear anything. It's really kind of spooky. But I'll tell you, the guys did an amazing job because it looks exactly like me.
It does. I mean, I watched the special feature. Someone posted it up on YouTube not long ago, and it's just uncanny. It must really freak you out when you're sitting there and then you're looking at yourself again. It must really freak you out.
Well, I came to set, and there was the day we were shooting that specific scene you're talking about, and I had another scene before that, and I remember I went to get myself a bottle of water, and they were in a room fixing it all up for the later scene that we were shooting. And I took a look, and I hadn't seen myself yet. They wanted to surprise me, and I took a look and I saw it, and I had this moment of like, oh my! I mean, it was when you see something made to look like you, and in the effects they do nowadays. I mean, you know this. They're so brilliant. These guys are so brilliant that it's like that's really my face down to the hair. It was really kind of creepy, to be honest.
Now, unfortunately for Ian, after that scene, there's definitely no coming back for the sequel, which is a definite shame. But with the warm reception and the huge success that Curse of Chucky has had, do you feel as though there will be more Chucky films in the pipeline, maybe?
Oh yeah, I think so. I mean, I think people want to see them. I think they have this longevity because they're such a great fan base. I mean, all over the world, you've got tens of millions of people at least that are just eager for another movie. I mean, there's people on IMDb that in the message boards wanting another one right away. So I'm sure Don will not be out of work in the Chucky world very shortly. But I also know that Don obviously probably wants to do more. He wants to feed his fans. They crave it. So, but I think he's also got some other things he probably wants to do as well, some other projects. And he was just a gem to work with, just a joy.
I can imagine, especially with being a horror legend. I mean, Chucky has really catapulted him into the public eye there. It would be interesting to see what they do with the sequel, considering the after credits ending maybe. So maybe Chucky's going to have a bit of a facelift perhaps in the next installment.
Yeah, he's had more facelifts than a housewife in Beverly Hills, I'll tell you.
Yeah, totally agree. Now, is there anything that you're currently working on at the moment that you can tell us about, Brennan?
I'm doing a TV series that just is having there's a couple episodes left. It's on Hallmark. It's a very different genre. It's more of it's based on Debbie Maycomber books. She's a New York Times bestseller, and it's kind of a Northern Exposure Harlequin romantic kind of TV series with Andy McDowell and myself and Dylan Neal, and it's a very sweet, family oriented. It's very different than this. There's no question. So I've been doing that and really enjoying it. Very, very different character. And there's a couple other projects. There's a couple other horror projects that I can't really discuss that people are interested in. So, I'm ready to get on the horse and, get my fans something scary again.
Fantastic. As soon as this call goes off, definitely let me know about those horror projects and we'll keep it between us.
You got it, sir. You got it.
Sounds good to me. I just want to wrap things up there, Brennan. I really appreciate you coming on the show. Curse of Chucky will, without a doubt, be a huge success, and they made a great choice in casting you in the film.
Oh, I appreciate all the kind words, Sean. I do.
No problem. All the best with the future, Brennan, and thank you very much for joining us once again.
You too, sir. We'll talk soon.